My name is Gideon Lenke. I'm the president and co-founder of Raw Security Systems.
We're a nationally known security services firm with over 20 years of experience in helping customers protect data and manage risk. I'm also a former president of the New Jersey chapter of the FBI's InfraGard program, a public-private partnership to help protect our nation's critical infrastructure. It always surprises me how, in many companies, employees have very little awareness of security basics. That kind of ignorance can lead to serious problems, as we'll see.
The end user is always going to factor heavily in any security plan because they spend the most time and they have the most touch points with the outside. I think most people can recognize a simple fish now. Like, for instance, most people are probably aware by now they don't really have a rich relative in Nigeria, but they might not recognize a fish that comes in that appears to come from HR and wants to discuss your benefits or your compensation. They might open that one. In most cases, in my experience, they will open that one. In one case, we tested a very large utility company the day after they received their training to help them identify a fish. And it was a miserable failure. It was shut down after 50% had failed. And these are people who had taken the test, and we honestly thought we were kind of tossing them a softball. And it was quite obvious that no, that wasn't the case, that most of them were just opening the email and going through the motions. It doesn't even have to be something you've done wrong, an action you take that could be considered wrong. You could just be doing your job. If you come across a website that you normally use for business and that website loads third-party content such as ad banners, sometimes those ad banners turn out to be malicious. And they can exploit your computer through vulnerabilities in the browser itself, in things like Flash or Java. And so just doing your job, your machine can become exploited. If you're using a laptop computer or a mobile phone outside of your office on a public network, we've seen cases where that has led to wire fraud, it's led to credential theft, it's led to all sorts of things. Oftentimes, users will have a mobile phone and they'll load applications on it, and the application itself can be Trojaned. It can have a malicious part to it that exposes the company and data and the network to outsiders. You know, people just tend to be nice. So during pen tests, people will, they'll hold the door for you. Biometrically locked doors, we've gotten through just by knocking. As long as you're carrying a box, it all makes sense to them. You walk past and you're in. Some of our other testing will include penetration tests. We'll test the user to see how sensitive they are. Will they be aware that their computer is the one that just got taken over? So we'll start with subtle things that are real-world indicators of malware. For instance, thrashing the hard drive, slowing the machine down. Then we'll start elevating. We'll move the mouse. In most cases, it takes a lot. One case that comes to mind where we were streaming audio and we kept changing the radio station. We were ejecting the CD tray in and out. And finally, after quite a while of this, they finally reported it to the help desk, but it took way longer than it should have. Sometimes the problem really is the guy standing next to you. In one case, we were called in right after another security company had been on a hacker that was referring to him as the super hacker. They briefed us on this magic packet that could take out any computer system. We kind of looked at that with a grain of salt, but we had them fire the magic packet at us. Of course, it took our machine right down. I had them put the machine in a isolated room in their data center and fire the magic packet again. And of course, it didn't take the machine down. At that point, we realized this was probably an insider. We focused our efforts on analyzing key access cards during the time of the events, and we found the individual. It was one of their star employees. You have to simulate the real-world attacks and test the users without their knowledge. Managing the end-user risk is not easy. You need to take a comprehensive approach. It needs to start and end with the end user. You need to train them. They need to understand the risk. They need to know how to react to the risk. So they have to have processes in place. You have to have people on the other end and help desks that are trained to deal with it. You need to have protective controls like two-factor authentication. You need to have detective controls, including event correlation that can tell that a series of events might be leading up to a bad thing. For instance, a self-signed certificate, a random connection to a place you don't normally do business, like let's say Eastern Europe, followed by a data burst over SSL. Obviously something bad just happened there. And then of course you have to have the process in place to react to that. So you have to have an incident plan that's comprehensive enough to deal with it and respond to it rapidly. The first time through you might have a high rate of failure. As time goes on, through retesting and taking that information back and feeding it into awareness programs, they get better and they get better and better.